So guys, so I got a question by this guy that says I love chicken nuggets. So I'm gonna answer his question because I like his name. He's in the research phase of starting his business and he wants to know, do I recommend this work? And if you guys don't know, I own a small commercial cleaning company. I do a lot of nightly janitorial for a bunch of places, and then we do a lot of big deep cleaning type jobs. And he wants to know if I recommend it. Yeah, it's good, steady work. It needs to get done. Someone's got to do it. I'm not too good to get my hands dirty and to be a janitor. So I don't mind doing it. It's nice. It's stress-free for the most part. And it gives me a good livelihood and it helps me reach other goals that I have in my life. For me, it was never about cleaning. It's always been about building a big business, building up my net worth, and being a wealthy individual, being able to take care of myself and my family. And this business has enabled me to do that. So I do recommend the work in that sense. The next question he asks is, do I have much free time? No, I don't have any free time. I do not have any free time at all, ever. I worked for 3 years without a single day off. I told you guys about that. Oftentimes I'm working 12 or 16-hour days. So that means from the minute I wake up, I'm getting ready for work and I'm going over my plan for the day and I'm eating and I'm like setting everything up, getting the van ready to go. And then I'm out and I'm cleaning job after job after job after job until I get home. And then when I get home, it's basically get ready for bed so that I can do it again. And this causes some problems, It's not the healthiest lifestyle. But for me, I'm a young person. I'm still trying to establish myself and get to a secure place financially where I feel like I can throttle back a little bit. And I'm not exactly 100% sure what that means. I don't really know what the target is I'm aiming for, but I know I just want to have a shitload of money. And right now I've got the energy and the time to do it. So I'm just going to do what works. And maybe I could do it better. Maybe I could hire people. Maybe I could do a lot of other things to bring the money in. But for right now, I'm just building up this base of wealth that I can stand on so that when I do find a good opportunity or I can take the next big leap, I can do that. And this leads me to what I want to talk about in this video. I know a lot of people are on hard financial times. All the time people are having hard financial times, not just right now because of COVID, but all the time. And I'm no different. I went broke 2 times in my life. And when I say broke, I mean flat effing broke. I mean, I didn't have 25 cents to go buy a candy bar at the gas station. I scrounged up all my pocket change and got rid of it, and I had nothing. And I went past that. I had a negative balance in my bank account for a long time. And I had lots of debt and no income and no car. I had to walk everywhere. When I say broke, I mean flat broke. And so I want to talk about that a little bit because that's why I'm working so hard right now. And maybe it's like a mental disorder from dealing with this trauma. People, when they went through the Great Depression, they scrimped and saved and cut corners on all their costs. And that affected those people for a long time. If you had grandparents that went through the Great Depression or great grandparents, they were extremely frugal people. And they would reuse, random crap, random jugs or whatever, just because they didn't want to spend the money on it because they had that level of insecurity. Well, I have that from the couple of times that I went broke because it ruined my life. It sucked. And so the first time was during 2008. And everyone says, oh yeah, I went broke in 2008. It was the worst time of my life financially, blah, blah, blah. They blame it on the economy. And maybe that was a big factor in a lot of people's lives. But for me, I went broke just because I was making bad choices, I think. I mean, the economy probably played into it, but I was also sort of a bum. I wasn't working as hard as I could. I would stay up all night long playing video games with my brothers, and then I would sleep in way too late to go do anything productive during the day. And I was living in my dad's basement, so I had a roof over my head, and I didn't need to worry about where I was going to sleep. And that gave me this level of security where I was still totally broke, but at least I had somewhere to live, so I wasn't feverishly looking for work. So basically what happened was I was trying to start this lawn care company, and I had some success with it. You know, I figured if I could go and aerate 10 lawns a day and I charge $50 a lawn, I could make $500 a day. And so that was my plan to start this business. That was the first business idea I'd ever had. So I did it. Me and my brother, we printed up some flyers and we walked door to door every day trying to drum up business. And we did. We had many days where we made $500 a day. But man, when the gas prices were going through the roof, I had a very expensive truck payment. I had this huge, it was like pretty much close to a brand new Chevy Silverado 2500. And it was only a couple years old. It was a big, nice truck. I love that truck, but it cost like $100 to fill the thing up. And then you're running a lawn care company where all your machines take gas. And then all of a sudden people started losing their jobs and they couldn't hire us. So we're trying to knock doors, but they're not really answering. And then I'm trying to figure out, how am I going to bring money into this business? So I'd stay up all night and spend time on things that weren't bringing money in. I would try and tinker around my website. I would look at ads for new equipment. And I didn't know the activities I needed to do to bring in business. And if you're just starting your first business, you're going to run into this problem. And you're going to spend a lot of time on things that maybe you shouldn't spend time on, and that's going to hurt your situation. And that's why I want to take ownership of why I went broke when I did. But anyway, it led to this point where the repo guy came to take my truck away, and I wasn't home, luckily. And my dad told me, he's like, dude, the repo guy was just here, the tow truck. You probably don't want to spend the night here tonight. So I was like, shit. So I get my truck and I go over to Walmart and I camp out in the parking lot. And just thinking, like, what am I going to do? I've got $0. I need this truck for an income. I can't let it go back to the bank, but technically it's their truck and I'm so far behind on it. Like, I just didn't know what to do. And I had been selling all my stuff along the way, all my guns, my guitars, my amps, anything of value that I could sell, I sold. And I had $0. I had nothing worth anything. And the last thing I had was this truck, and the guy's knocking on my door to try and come get it from me. And luckily, within like a day or two, I had sold it. And I went with the buyer to my bank. We found out exactly what I owed on it to the penny. And he wrote a check to the bank, and he took ownership of that truck. And that sucked. It sucked really bad, because I loved that truck. That was the first real big thing that I ever bought for myself, and I had to let it go because I couldn't pay for it. But luckily, I narrowly escaped getting a repo on my record. But it didn't matter because I had horrible credit anyway, because I'd fallen behind on all my credit cards and maxed them all out. And so not only did I not have any money, I didn't have anything worth anything, I didn't have any credit, because I owed money to everyone, and my credit basically was awful. I had some credit cards when I had a good job, but they got maxed out when I didn't have an income. And all those things were my fault. I could have done a lot more. I really think I could have done a lot more. So I learned a lot there. And then the next time happened when I was starting my current cleaning company. And the reason I want to talk about this is because one of the next questions was, how long did it take my company to become successful? I think it probably took about 2 years. But that first year, I had moved 1,000 miles away from home, and I didn't know a single person. I never recovered from losing my truck. My grandparents, luckily I was in a situation where my grandparents could give me their car. And they give me a 30-year-old Chrysler New Yorker, and it's like a big gangster mobile. You can look them up online. Maybe I'll try and find a photo of it. But it had big dents on the side, and it had 400,000 miles on it, and it was a really bad car. It was great because it would drive and it would do what it needed to do, but in terms of like looking good, it looked horrible. And that's all I had. I had that in a backpack when I moved up here to the Pacific Northwest. So I never fully recovered financially when I started my cleaning company. I was on the right path, but I didn't have a lot to stand on. I didn't have a big safety net in terms of savings and stuff. So I started this cleaning company, and I worked for my mentor for a little while. He screws me out of a whole bunch of money, which was probably my fault. And people have told me on the channel that it was my fault. I sort of disagree, but you can watch that video if you want to. But there were some things there I could have done different. But it was situation like that after situation like that where I couldn't get enough traction to build my business. I had quit my corporate America job to run my business full time. I heard Tony Robbins say, you need to burn all the boats. And if you burn the boats when you storm the island, there's no retreating. You can't go back. So there's only forward. It'll push you harder. So I got rid of my day job to start my cleaning business, which was probably a giant mistake looking back. But what happened was, since I didn't own a good work vehicle, anytime I would land window washing jobs, I would have to go rent the truck at Home Depot. And then I didn't own a ladder, so I'd have to rent the ladder from Home Depot. So I'd go make like a couple $100 washing windows, which was great. But then I'd have to go give another $150 to Home Depot just to rent the equipment. And then, you know, I have responsibilities at home. I have a rent. I have a brand new wife. Like, I had just gotten married. So now I have to take care of things for her. And being the man and the provider and having this pressure of trying to like keep it together for her, but not being able to bring the money in fast enough, it sucked, man. It really sucked. And eventually I burned through all my savings. And I remember at one point I got a truck eventually. And I think this was during the first year still. And I was making payments on the truck. I went to one of those places where it has a crazy interest rate. And I bought this crappy truck, but I needed a truck. And so I had the truck, and I'm going to go do a floor job at this dentist office. And it was going to be like a couple $100 or something. And I only had $120 in cash to my name. And what would happen was my bank account would be on zero, but I would just go to the ATM and withdraw as much money as I could anyway and be in the negative. And then I would get hit with overdraft fees. And so now I'm negative plus the overdraft fee, but I had to do it because I felt at the time like I had to do it because I had to go do this job. So that money that I had in cash, that was going to be my truck payment. I had overdrawn my account to make my truck payment so I could still bring income in. But then I got an opportunity to go do a floor job for this dentist. Well, I show up that night. I spent all the money on floor stripper and wax and stuff to do the job. And I show up and he just looks at me and he's like, you know, I changed my mind. Tonight's not going to be a good night for you to do the floors for me. I'm sorry, but call me again later and maybe we'll do it. And I go back to my truck and I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, I've got no effing money. I just spent my truck payment on floor stripper because I thought I was going to double my money here. And this guy cancels on me. So now I've got nothing. Now I don't even have my truck payment money. I don't have the income from this guy. My bank account's overdrawn. I'm late on my rent. And that was an awful situation. I had no idea how I was going to recover from that. But I did. And I just kept going. I kept pushing forward. I ended up getting a couple other jobs, and I bounced back. And I figured out around 2 years in, the reason I was failing was 100% because of me. And I can't remember exactly what year it was. I think it was 2014. I wrote down in my journal, or like one of my notebooks that I had, not like a journal, but like a notebook. I was making New Year's resolutions, and I said, this year is going to be my year of consistency. I'm just going to be consistent. And I knew that if I cold called, I could bring in sales. And so I quit staying up all night. I quit drinking. I quit goofing around with my brothers on World of Warcraft. And I would just wake up early and I would work and I would cold call. And then my wife and I, we got little envelopes. So as money came in, we would put it in the envelope and we'd figure out, okay, let's pay rent first, then let's pay electricity. So every time a check would come in, we'd cash it and then we'd put it in the envelope. And eventually those envelopes would fill up and we had all of our bills paid for the month. And then by being consistent, before you know it, now I've got envelopes for 2 months filled up and then 3 months filled up. And now I've got more money than I even need. And that was all in that 1 year of being consistent. And so I started like knocking on the doors, like I told you. And then we started doing the envelopes with my wife. And eventually my wife's like, I need to quit my job. I'm dying here. So I was like, fine. So she quits her job and now she's helping me. And she's doing some cold calls. And we keep landing more and more clients. I start doing a lot more floor jobs. And eventually, you know, probably 3 years in is when I moved to my new house. And then that same year I buy a brand new car. And it just got better from there. But I think it probably took me a good 2 years. But the reason I'm talking about these big failures, because it goes back to what you were originally saying. How much free time do I have? I don't have any free time because I'm so like terrified of going broke again that I will fill every waking hour with income generating activities so that I can keep building this mountain of wealth that I'm trying to have later in life. And so you probably don't need to work as much as I do. Just because I don't have any free time doesn't mean that you can't build a life where you have free time. But you know what? I'll tell you this, dude. If you don't have any money and you can't pay your bills and you're about to get kicked out and you're about to lose your car and you're losing your dignity and your self-respect, you better not take a day off. Like, you need to work Saturdays, you need to work Sundays, you need to work from the minute you wake up till the minute you go to bed, and string those days together so that you don't even know when your next day off is going to be. Like, I helped this guy start a business once, and he was broke as shit. He was about to lose his apartment, and he's like, you know, I'm not working Saturday and Sunday. I'm the boss. I don't have to do whatever I want. And so I'm like, dude, you can't prioritize 2 days off when you're going to lose your house and you've got kids and a wife. So anyway, I'm going to go now. So if you want to do what you want, when you want, how you want, for you want, how much you want, subscribe to my channel. See you guys next time.